It hits me like a cold wave. One moment, everything is fine, and the next it's all slipping away. Your position is being eliminated, effective immediately, Brandon says, his voice steady, almost rehearsed. I barely hear the words. My mind is racing, trying to process what just happened. How did we get here? 14 years of hard work, all of it just gone? I try to keep my face neutral, but inside, I'm unraveling. Doubts creep in one after another. Was I not enough? Had I been doing something wrong all this time? I built this division. I took it from nothing to top performer. It was never flashy or full of corporate buzzwords. It was about relationships, about trust, about doing the right thing even when no one was watching. And now it's all just dismissed in a few cold sentences. I look at Brandon, Harvard Business School, tailored suits, the poster child for everything I never wanted to become, and I can't shake the feeling that he's already moved on. But I can't. I'm stuck, frozen in this moment, questioning everything I thought I knew about my place here. My worth. 14 years. I remember walking into Northrise when it was just a small warehouse in Charlotte, struggling to break into the corporate world. There was no promise of success, no guarantees. Just me, a few employees, and a mountain of work. But I believed in it, believed in what we could build. I didn't rely on fancy presentations or buzzwords. I built it on something real, trust. I remember meeting every prospect within a 100-mile radius, driving to their offices, listening to their problems and fixing them. Late deliveries, poor quality control, inconsistent sizing. Issues we solved before they even became problems. It wasn't just business, it was personal. I got to know these people, their families, their quirks, their concerns. And they trusted me. They trusted us. Those relationships weren't just about contracts. They were about understanding, about showing up when it mattered. And it paid off, $4.2 million in annual contracts. That was the foundation I built, one call, one handshake at a time. But now it feels like none of it matters. Like all that effort, all those late nights and sacrifices, was just swept aside with a few words. It doesn't make sense. How did it all just vanish? As I pack up my things, the silence around me is suffocating. Family photos, a fishing trophy from a client, a handwritten note of thanks, all fitting into a single cardboard box. It feels wrong, as if these years of my life could be reduced to something so small, so disposable. Alicia from HR walks past me, and I catch her eye for a brief moment. She looks away almost immediately, like she's avoiding something. I don't know what's worse, the fact that she can't meet my gaze, or the way it makes me feel like an outsider in my own life. Like I'm invisible now, a shadow of someone they used to know. The CFO Thomas walks by too. He stops, almost like he's going to say something, but then he doesn't. Just a quick pat on the shoulder and he keeps walking. It's also awkward. I don't know if it's pity or guilt, but either way, it feels like they're already distancing themselves from me. I finish packing in silence, not a single word exchanged with anyone. It's strange. After all these years, all the people I've worked with, all the lives I've touched, it feels like I'm being erased. Just like that. I started at Northrise when we were nothing more than a small warehouse in Charlotte. We were barely breaking even, trying to land corporate contracts with regional banks and healthcare companies. It was a struggle at first, but I gave everything I had to turn it around. Every late night, every weekend emergency, every time I had to leave my family to handle a crisis, it was all for the company, for my team. I wasn't just managing accounts. I was building something real. I knew every client by name, understood their needs, their pain points, their concerns. And I made sure we delivered every single time. It wasn't just about numbers, it was about creating a legacy, something that would last. And I thought it had. I thought all that sacrifice, all that work would mean something. But now, as I look back on it, I wonder if it ever truly mattered to them. Was it all just to build something they could toss aside when it no longer fit their spreadsheet vision? When Brandon arrived, everything shifted. He came in with his buzzwords, efficiency, streamlining, maximizing margins, and his spreadsheets, as if that was all that mattered. He had the credentials, Harvard Business School, a sharp suit, and a buzz cut that screamed corporate. But what he didn't have was any understanding of the relationships I'd spent years building. He never once asked about our clients, never asked why they specifically requested me on quarterly calls, or why we were growing while other divisions floundered. To him, it was all about numbers, about cutting costs and improving efficiencies. But what he couldn't see, and what I couldn't explain in a chart, was the trust one had with these clients. That trust wasn't something you could quantify. It was the late-night calls, the personal sacrifices, the small things that made a difference. Brandon wasn't interested in any of that. And slowly, I watched as everything I had worked so hard to build began to unravel. When Brandon asked for a report on our major accounts, I knew it wasn't about the numbers anymore. He wanted the figures, the projections, the contract renewal dates. So I compiled everything he would expect to see. But I didn't include the most important part, the part that couldn't fit on a spreadsheet. I didn't include how I'd personally gone to a client's funeral to support them, or how I'd stayed up all night to make sure an order went out perfectly. Those things couldn't be quantified. They didn't show up in any report. Brandon didn't ask about any of it. He didn't care about the relationships or the trust that had been built over years. To him, it was just data. Just another box to tick off. That was the moment I realized there was no understanding between us. No real connection. The numbers spoke to him, the relationship spoke to me. And in that moment, I knew things had already changed beyond repair. The phone starts ringing just after 9 a.m. At first, it's Diane from Suncoast Financial. Her voice is laced with concern. "Clayton, we just heard about the changes at Northrise. Please tell me you're not affected." I take a slow breath, steadying myself. "I was let go yesterday," I say quietly. The silence on the other end speaks volumes. I can hear her shifting in her seat, unsure of what to say next. She finally asks, "Who's taking over the accounts?" I reply honestly, "They didn't say." I assume one of Brandon's new team members. It's a tough conversation, but I stay calm. I don't badmouth Northrise, don't throw anyone under the bus. This isn't about that. It's about answering their concerns, being honest. As I hang up, my phone buzzes again. Another call, another client, another worried voice. Harold from Vector Properties. Then Michael from Eastern Bank. Then Stephanie from Bright Healthcare Systems. Each one follows the same pattern: shock, concern, and questions about their contracts. I answer each of them the same way. Honestly. No anger. No bitterness. Just the truth. They want answers and I give them what I can. But deep down, I know this is only the beginning. Brandon's call comes a few days later. The tone is different now, more urgent. "Clayton, we need to talk," he says, his voice tighter than it was during our last meeting. "There are concerns with several key accounts. We could discuss a consulting arrangement to help with the transition." I let the words hang in the air for a moment, considering them. It would be easy, just a consulting gig while I figured out my next move. I could step back in, help them smooth things over, and keep my connections intact. The money would be good, and it would give me time to decide what's next. But something feels off. Something inside me tells me that going back would be like erasing everything I've worked for. It wouldn't be about what's best for me or my team. It would just be a temporary fix for a company that clearly didn't value me. "I appreciate the offer, but I need some time to think about it," I say, keeping my voice even. But inside, I already know my answer. I don't want to return. Not to that environment, not under those conditions. It's time to move forward. The email hits my inbox just as I'm finishing up some work. Northrise's legal department. My stomach drops as I open it. The tone is threatening, filled with legal jargon I can barely make sense of, but the message is clear. They want me to stop contacting my former clients. It's not just a warning. It feels like an attempt to control me, to keep me from continuing the relationships I built, even though I'm no longer with the company. I sit back in my chair, staring at the screen, my mind racing. This isn't just about severing ties. It's about intimidation. They're trying to scare me into silence. But the more I read, the more I realize, this is just a paper tiger. They don't have a case. I've done nothing wrong. I forward the email to a lawyer friend of mine, Paul. His response is quick and to the point. "This is paper thin. They can't stop you from talking to clients." Relief washes over me, but it's quickly replaced by a deep sense of frustration. They don't just want me gone. They want to erase me entirely. The offers start rolling in one after the other. Summit Ridge is the first, and their proposal is more than tempting. Senior VP equity stake, complete control over client relationships. It's everything I've worked for. They get it. They see the value in what I've built, in the relationships I've fostered. They're not interested in spreadsheets and efficiency. They're interested in something real. I take the time to consider everything, weighing the past against the future. The more I think about it, the more I realize that I can't go back to Northrise, to a company that didn't value me or the work I'd done. I can't go back to a place where numbers trump people. When I finally accept Summit Ridge's offer, it's not just about the job. It's about starting fresh, building something new. I'm leaving behind the company that let me go, but I'm not leaving behind what truly matters. The trust, the relationships, the integrity. This is my chance to build something that lasts, something grounded in the values I believe in. As I step into this new role, there's a sense of closure. I'm not looking back anymore. I'm looking forward. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like the weight on my shoulders has lifted.